Good morning everyone. Welcome you all. Today we will discuss the importance and care of herbarium. As we know, a herbarium is more than just a collection of plant specimen. Like it serves as a library of biodiversity, crucial for scientific research, conservation efforts and education. So let's delve into the significance and how we can ensure its preservation for generations to come. So now moving toward our first topic, that is the introduction for this particular. As we've already studied that herbarium is a systematically arranged collection of dried plant specimens that mounted on a sheets. These specimens are prepared to retain their original form and stored for long-term use. So think of it as a botanical library, that is a preserving a snapshot of our plant biodiversity. Then some of the most famous herbaria include the Royal Botanical Garden and Kew in UK, that is the United Kingdom, which houses over 7 million specimens, and in India the National Botanical Research Institute. These institutes are the forefront of the plant science and biodiversity research. So we can say that the herbarium are used for identifying the plant species and supporting the research, educating the students. So they are also serve as a historical record showcasing the diversity of plant life across the time and space. So if we see the importance of herbarium, because it has a very much important in every field of a plant sciences as well as in the biodiversity and climate change. So these are the some important importance of the herbarium. The first one is the as a biodiversity documentation. As you can see that the herbarium sheets are the preserved specimens of dried plants. So it acts as a repositories of biodiversity. They help us to document species diversity in different regions, which is crucial for conservation planning. For example, if a species become extinct in wild, a herbarium specimen may be only the remaining evidence of its existence. So this is a very important step. Then they can also serve as a for the conservation planning by maintaining the record of rare, endangered and endemic plant species. Herbaria help in the conservation efforts. Then we can also monitoring the flora changes in particular specific areas, like they document the geographical and temporal distribution of plant species, allowing scientists to track environmental changes and habitat loss. So these are serve as a documentation of biodiversity. Then they also solve our purpose of research and education. Like taxonomists use herbaria to describe and classify plants, and these collections provide reference material for teaching plant morphology and systematics to students. So it is a very important for a researcher as well as for the student. Then they also provide a comparative studies, like a specimen provide a comparative reference for the researching working on a new plant species. So we can compare our plant specimen that now working on from the previous one. So these are a very important tool for research as well as for the education. Then the third most important part of the herbarium importance is the identification and authentication, because herbarium are used to verify the identity of plant with economic and medicinal value. So this is a critical in industries like pharmaceutical and agriculture, where plant authenticity is essential, because we cannot just pick a plant from a wild and then use it for the medicinal purpose. It is a very important to proper identification and authentication for before use in the pharmaceutical industries. So this is very important for the identification and authentication. We cannot choose, because some wild plant they are looking same but they have a different chemical phytochemical constituents. So it is very important to identify them and authenticate them with the help of this herbarium. Then they also have a cultural and historical significance, like they preserve type of specimen like the original specimen on which species description are based, and records from the historical botanical exploration, then contribution to our understanding of plant species. So they are historically record the preserved plant collected by explorers and botanists over centuries, offering insight into the past ecosystem. Then the type of specimen, like a type of specimen is a reference for the original description of plant species. So herbarium is a safeguard of these critical specimens, because as we know, herbarium are preserved from more than from the 16th centuries. So from the 16th century till date, there are many records of the flora that present from the different geographical regions, and different scientists work on the different flora. So these are the just record, historical significance, because they are documenting the flora of that particular region from time to time. Then they also play a role in the climate change studies, like herbarium specimens provide the data on flowering and fruiting times, which are valuable for studying the phenological shifts due to the climate change. Then a specimen reveals past distribution of plants, offering insight into how species adapt to environmental changes, which is also play a very important role in the climate change studies. Then it is very important also to digitalize and modern applications, because like the virtual access of herbarium is a very important. So many herbarium are digitized collection, making them accessible to researchers worldwide. This is a very important step that taken by the every major institute of world as well as India to work digitalize the herbarium library in the form of a e-flora, because it's providing access to the different flora of the different world area. So we can just suppose we are particularly working on a particular plant species, so we can just match them from these documents. Previously this process is very tedious, because we have to go that place, then we have to match them. Now it become very easy because of this digitalization process. Then barcoding and genomics. Then DNA extracted from the DNA specimen contribute to the genetic studies and a species identification of a particular plant. So it is also very important step in the importance. So it suppose a plant species that may be extinct in wild, we can access its genetic information and analyze them, what are the reasons behind there, and we can also check their ancestry, because they are also preserved. So it is a very important, that is the process of a registration and modern application of these herbariums. Then the next that importance, that is the global and regional importance. As I have told you, they also have a very global role, like institutions like the Smithsonian and Kew play a key roles in global plant research and conservation, because it is providing a all over the world, they are providing the access to their flora. We can just check them, and these are the most with higher number of plant species. So the access of these particular plant species is very important for the researchers who are working in the field of either plant scientists or biodiversity conservation. So it is a just record of a historical importance, that providing a detail of a plant specimen from that particular regions. Then in India, it is contribution, like the Botanical Survey of India has herbarium documenting, which has a very rich flora of diversity, and all the species which is discovered in India are preserved in the form of a herbarium in the Botanical Survey of India. So it is playing a quite crucial role in documenting the plant biodiversity and its conservation planning, because suppose if there is a species in endangered, so Botanical Survey of India provide the list which plant need to be taken care for this particular conservation strategies. So these organizations play a very crucial role in preserving the biodiversity of our ecosystem. So these are some importance of the herbarium. Now moving towards the care of herbarium, as we have already seen that the herbarium is a very important. It also acts as a historical record, and it is providing us a detail of a flora of particular regions. The care of herbarium is very important, because as I have told you, the herbarium are the collection of plant material that are working for the stock for the taxonomists and other scientists who can make use of them. As I have told you that it is play very important role in the biodiversity conservation as well as in the climate change. So they are also the repository of basic botanical knowledge of the country. So clearly they need a crucial curation and maintenance. And the main collection are of a dried vascular plant mounted on a thick grade archive paper and placed in the species folder with genre arranged with the plant family within the vacuum sealed metal cabinets. So they are all sealed in, and the room temperature is maintained at the 23 degrees centigrade to prevent the deterioration of plant material by the pests and diseases. So these specimens that is stored in a particular controlled condition, they require the low humidity and temperature prevent pest infestation and physical deterioration. and special cabinets with airtight seals are often used to storage. And then next is the care includes the fumigation to eliminate pests and regular cleaning and replacing damaged sheets, then prevent measure ensure the long term survival for this collection. So these are the some subsidiary collection of the lower plants like fungi, algae also kept in the similar conditions. So a small collection of wood, seeds and fruit are also maintained by the herbarium. So these are the very important collections of the plant and their parts also. So the method of storage must allow for the almost indefinite storage for the specimen, and some of which are more than 150-year-olds. Like dried plant materials is very delicate and so must be handled with great care and as a seldom of a species. So the damage caused by the fungi and bacteria is actually less important than done by the insect. So it is important to disinfest the new plant material before it mounted on the herbarium sheets and placed in the main collection. It is also necessary to continually protect the main collection from the build-up of the insect population in the cabinet. So this is done on a continuous basis by placing the herbarium folders in industrial freezer at minus 30 degrees centigrade for at least 2 hours and then replacing them on the shelves. So the entire collection is fumigated biennially using the recommended fumigant. So as you can see, these herbarium specimens are stored in a places. Before that we have placed them in the poisoning solution, then we frozen them, then we place in the almirah for the better longer period and their better use in the futures. So besides this, there are several steps for the maintenance of a herbarium that we will going to learn by one. Like the maintenance and restoration of herbarium include the preventive care, repair and restoration of herbarium specimens. And the collection of dried plant specimens are collected from their native habitats identified by expert, pressed and mounted onto a archival paper. And for this, care is taken to make the major morphological characters are visible. So herbarium documentation provide a record of botanical diversity, as I have told you. Then the professional who make decisions about the conservation and restoration of botanical specimen include registrars, curators and conservators who work on the herbarium collection in the universities and museum. So herbarium specimens may be susceptible to water damage, mold, pest, unattached specimen, dust, dirt and damage from the improper storage condition. Preventive conservation can be prevent much of the damage that could occur. So these are the some important steps in the storage and preservation of the herbarium. Like herbarium specimens will last for hundreds of years if properly cared for. Like the best condition for the storage include the low temperature, low humidity, low light and infrequent handling. So roaches and certain beetles will destroy plant specimens. So kill insects in dried plant specimens by freezing them for 3 or 4 days and keep them pest free in a tightly sealed plastic bags. So there are the various ways to achieve this condition. So in a herbarium, plants are stored in a folder within the airtight cabinets. So any dried plant material is frozen before entering the herbarium and the space periodically treated with pyrethrin spray, that is an organic insecticide that made from the chrysanthemums. In the Brit, plants are organized alphabetically by the plant family to which they belong. So then by the genus they bind the geographical area and then the species to which they belong. So this organization facilitates the use of herbarium by researchers and the public because they are arranged in a particular sequence. I have told you that earlier in our previous class that the herbarium are arranged according to a certain known system of classification that is followed by the developed country. Like in India, most of the herbarium are arranged in the form of a pentamonochal system of classification. So it is a very easy to find out our point of interest of the herbarium because we cannot search all the plant species in a time. So just because of this arrangement, systematic arrangement of herbarium, we can easily find out our needed plant from that stored library. Then if we see the agents of deterioration in the maintenance, so the major agents that cause the damage to the herbarium sheets are the like physical forces, like proper storage and secure and stable shelving, that is a very important. Then water damage that is resulting from the flooding and result in shrinking, distortion or staining of plant material or damage of waterlogged specimens are frozen to delay deterioration and prevent a fungal attack. Then common herbarium and pests include the silverfish like bookleaf, that is also called araphosoids, then cigarette or tobacco beetles like Lesioderma, then dermatids and drugstore beetles like Stegobium panicum. So a recurring threat to the longevity of herbarium specimen is insects, a number of which find dried plant palatable, and historically various methods have been used to kill insects which either come with the plant when they are collected or in the building where the plants are stored. So the steps we will see later. Then the pests are commonly treated with two different methods like freezing. Using a clear polyester bag, excess air is pushed out and the heat sealed with the specimen inside, or the specimen can be replaced inside polythene bags and the sealed with the parcel tape. Then it is placed into a normal domestic freezer for at least 14 days at a temperature of minus 18 degrees centigrade for 72 hours, and if freezing at minus 30 degrees centigrade. Then anoxia, is also a small anoxic environment is of the pest of oxygen and care treated using the sealed barrier films and placing oxygen scavengers and RH buffer inside before sealing. So an integrated pest management program is cost effective over time and the pest preventive measure against the pests that damage the herbarium. So these are some preventive measures that can be taken for the pest control. Then there is a fungal attack also that destroy the herbarium sheet. So the primary risk factor for the fungal attack is the incomplete drying of a specimen that caused either during the specimen preparation process or afterward or in the collection that become wet later through the flood. So other water damage or improper storage condition. So the proper dried plant specimens will not suffer from the fungal attack if stored in the correct condition. So during the drying process, the specimens are particularly at the risk if they dry slowly. So this happens through poor drying condition or specimens being wet before being pressed or having water retaining or succulent plants. So the specimen with sugary exudates or large quantities of nectar are also particularly attractive to fungi and need special care during the drying to ensure that they dry fast enough to prevent mold growth. So if fungal growth occurs on the specimen, it can be treated, brushed with the 95% ethanol or methylated spirit, that is the denatured alcohol. So these are the some another attack on the sheet, that is the fungal attack, that can be prevented with the help of the 95% ethanol and the methylated spirits. Then the next things are like light. Like herbarium species are sensitive to visible light and ultraviolet radiation, which can cause fading of biological pigments, that is like fading and shift in the color and or damage to the chemical bonds. Then the next is the theft. Theft is prevented by maintaining limited access to where collection is stored in the event of a specimen leaving the site through the outgoing loans. Record are kept with gather letters of request. The translation of names and other supporting documentation is very important in the case of a herbarium. Then the next one is the pollutants. Storage in metal cabinets is the best material to maintain the herbarium collection because metal cabinets do not release volatile organic compounds as wooden cabinets do. So the metal shelves can be easily cleaned and a well-sealed cabinet with provide a stable microclimate for the specimen storage. Also very important in case of a herbarium maintenance. Like proper cleaning, like dust and dirt are removed from the herbarium site by using a smoke sponge. Then conservators gently rub the place where the dirt is and then softly remove any excess with a fine brush. Then care must be taken by conservators when dealing with the older prepared specimen that may have traces of toxic chemicals. Then making use of personal protective equipments where professional can reduce the risk of exposure or harm due to dangerous material. Then suppose by the care, suppose some specimens may be broken specimens are attached to the herbarium sheet using thinly cut strips of archival pre-gum line tapes. Then these detached materials such as seeds or leaves are placed in a acid-free card fragment packet which is secured onto the sheet with original specimens. Like here you can see. Then removal from mounting sheet, like unattached specimens are removed from the herbaria sheet by humidifying it to make them pileable and removing the plant with a paper litter like a smooth wooden spatula. Then they are then placed to dry and flattened along with the original mounting sheet and written documentation, label and annotation. So the specimen and original documents are then remounted to a new sheet using the original sheet as a reference. As you can see here, the specimen that present right specimen with the lenient tape support. In case if they are not properly taken care, they can get damaged. So we have to just clean properly by the taking care and place them in a regular sheet. So if we see the summarize the advantage of having the importance, like properly maintained herbariums serve as an invaluable tool for the scientific research, education and biodiversity conservation. And they provide relatable references for the plant nutrition and support global effort to preserve the endangered species and emphasize the accessibility of our. So if we see, the digitized herbarium enhance the accessibility, enabling researchers worldwide to access data without traveling to physical locations. So this is a very important step, and this is not only saves the time but also reduces wear on the specimens. Then the benefits like the well-maintained specimen can last centuries and preserving historical and scientific data. Then they also adding our researcher like properly preserved specimen retain their structural integrity that's essential for the morphological studies. Then they provide a tool for the conservation because an accurate record of biodiversity for the conservation planning is recorded in that particular herbarium. As I have already told you, the accessibility that is very important, like digitized collection of enable global access that reduces the physical handling of the specimen, that also reduce the maintenance in case of a herbarium. So in conclusion, we can say that the herbarium are not just a collection of treasures of botanical knowledge. They also play a crucial role in taxonomy, conservation and understanding the impact of environmental changes on plant life. So this is our call for action as a student and professional in botany. It is our duty to ensure that these collections are preserved and utilized effectively for research and education. By doing so, we contribute to the larger goal of understanding and protecting our planet's biodiversity. So that is in with the this lecture. Now, thank you all of you for your attention. And thank you for joining this session. Also, I hope you enjoyed this session on the biodiversity conservation, especially on the herbarium, its preservation, care, the steps of forming the herbarium. So, thank you all. That's all for this session. Thank you for joining me.